It's now only 1 month until the Idle Heroes anniversary is upon us, but you might have heard that some people were saying last year's Idle Heroes anniversary wasn't very good, so they're not that excited for this year's. Well, let me tell you that the anniversary events have in the past been some of the best events in Idle Heroes history, and it was only because of one fatal mistake that DH Games made that last year's ended up being disappointing. So let me tell you today why I think this year's anniversary is going to be good, the things you need to prepare for it, and things that can reassure you that saving your scrolls and gems is going to be worth it. So first, we need to take a look at last year's event. Last year for anniversary, DH Games made a pretty big mistake, and that was to not make the anniversary a Transcendence event. Transcendence events are the release of Transcendence heroes, and with these releases we get some of the best events in Idle Heroes, assuming you've saved your scrolls. So how was this event different? Well, sadly, it released Natalie in her base form. It was just a light hero, so she was the guaranteed hero that we could get from summons and from the summon event. That means people weren't able to select the 5-star hero that they wanted to chase, which was unfortunate for free-to-play players and budget players because it meant they weren't able to select the specific hero they wanted. Instead, they were forced to get Natalie. Now, that wasn't that bad. She was a light hero and she was new, so getting copies was still okay, but the problem is the event's currency that came through from this was also attached to the summon event. That means that there was no specific reward being given for using a certain number of scrolls. Instead, it was given directly in the summon event and then linked to a reward system, which we will take a look at now. There was a 7-tier reward system, which you might see as very familiar, and that's because this was the first time DH Games ever released the new way of giving rewards to people. Ever since, we've seen more and more events doing this, but generally you can expect from the first tier to get an artifact or a flag, from the second tier the same rewards again, but you do get a Core of Origin instead, which is probably the best thing to grab there. From the third tier you get the same, but instead a sublimation chest, and then the fourth tier is notorious for being bad value because it gives Spiritual Essence. Now, the reason Spiritual Essence isn't very good is because the Glory Challenge already gives you absolutely loads of it. If you look at these middling tiers, you get 200,000 Spiritual Essence, and there are 3 of them, so that's 600,000 you're picking up for free. But the lower tiers give even more. They give 350,000, and there's 6 of them, so you can expect to get 2.1 million Spiritual Essence from the lower levels as well. That also includes Stellar Shards and makes focusing on the Glory Challenge one of the best things you can do when you have access to level 120 Tree of Origin 5 heroes. So because of that, even spenders were a bit reluctant to invest on this event because that 4th tier just was not worth it. Which means people ended up feeling like this event was a bit of a letdown. And the only redeeming factor was that this was a festival event giving unique festival treasures, but they weren't even the best treasures we'd seen. Encapsulated Memories, if you haven't seen that already, gives crit damage and was widely considered the best festival treasure of last year. So without that being given as a reward, people felt like this event just wasn't that great. On top of that, we had the Curse Breaker, which needed you to use tens of thousands of gems to get the following rewards, and this ended up being pretty good, but the only reward thrown in there was a treasure item. But still, by chasing this, people were able to get something nice, and as you have seen with future events, this is just a common thing they attach to events anyway, so it didn't feel like anything special for Anniversary. The only thing that made Anniversary truly excellent was the Rice Zhongji. Now, this was where people really got some exciting rewards. They had a chance to get one of 3 different Zhongjis, but if you got the Egg Zhongji, you managed to get yourself a really nice reward. Either Starry Gems, you could get Master's Toolboxes, cores, even Starspawn cores as well. Now, what would happen is if you reach these different tiers of rewards and acquired enough Egg Zhongzi, you would improve your bonus. And on top of that, we were given B-Stones as well. Now, the bonus is important here because that bonus allowed you to gain multiple rewards from your Egg Zhongzi. So you weren't just getting 100 contract story gems, you would get 300. And if you improved your multiplier, you could instead get 400, 500, 700, or even if you went all the way to the top, 1,000. Now, this ended up being the key feature of Anniversary, and it most certainly will return again. We have seen this already being used in Chinese New Year, and I expect that something like this will return again. So this is exactly why you need your gems, because this event is phenomenal. Each day they release a code that is attached to those Zhongzis, and if your egg Zhongzi matches the code that comes out, you will get a multiplier attached to your rewards. And this is excellent, so make sure you save your gems. For spenders, they also added a series collection, and this gave us encapsulated memories, and this was the best artifact we had ever seen in the treasure train, which did mean there were good things attached to Anniversary, and many people wanted to spend to get access to the encapsulated memories to buff up their crit damage. It was only unfortunate then that the actual event itself didn't give the encapsulated memories as its reward, because it was instead tied to the series collection. As well, with Anniversary, you can expect a way to replace your artifacts, your flags, your skins, and even your heroes as well. So you can turn light and dark heroes into other light and dark heroes, or heroes from the other factions into whatever hero you may need. This is a nice way of swapping around your heroes and getting access to some really cool stuff. And people are really hoping that this Anniversary gives us the option to swap cores of origin. We're not certain the devs will do this, but we really hope they do, because given now we need so many cores of origin to buff up our Destiny heroes, it would be really nice if we could use some of our older cores to make it easier to get access to Destiny levels. However, it's unlikely that's going to be the case, but if the devs do decide to add a core of origin swap, that would be fantastic. Finally, they also added an event which was associated with heroes we'd acquired in the past, associated to the different anniversaries. So Dasmogue Michelle, Mim Belrain, Penny Amun-Ra, Drake Russell, Andrea and Mockman. They'll also probably add Natalia to this as well. And we were able to get additional rewards if at any point we'd acquired those heroes. It was nothing amazing, but something nice just in case. On top of that, you also had access to some previous skins that were given during big events, so it's nice to get access to festival limited skins, especially for free-to-play players, because normally festival skins are associated with spending, so it's good that we'll be able to get some of these for free as well. And even though people said last year's Anniversary was bad, it still did have some incredible spending rewards, getting us access to Sublimation, Celestial Island resources, and even Master's Toolboxes, Glorious Relics, and Contract Starry Gems. So fear not, there will be some really good deals at Anniversary which can get us some extra bonus rewards to help us make progress. Now, looking through this, it actually doesn't look like that much of a terrible event. Anniversary was still really good. So the main thing people were complaining about was the fact that they weren't getting many rewards for their heroic summon scrolls because it was tied to the newer system. And that newer system was meaning free-to-play players were only really getting access to a core of origin and an artifact, and they would have to push really hard to get a sublimation chest, and that would require them getting lucky. So many free-to-play players still didn't manage to do that. So what's the big difference with this year compared to last year? Well, this year is going to be a Transcendence event, and all we need to do is look at last year's Halloween to see just how bonkers a Transcendence event is compared to previous Anniversary. A Transcendence event allows you to use your scrolls to gain access to Sublimation. You can get Cores of Origin. All these rewards attached are absolutely fantastic, and you don't even need to spend 1,000 scrolls to get access to that Sublimation chest. Imagine here then that they'll be adding festival items too, most likely orange chests that can improve our treasure train. And this will also then give free-to-play players access to Destiny materials if they need it, which again is really good. However, what makes a Transcendence event special is what happens when there's a festival. With Halloween, for example, we had access to something similar to the Wolf that gave us really nice bonus rewards, but then also on top of that we had the Cemetery Guardian, which depending on how much progress we decided to make was giving us additional rewards. We were getting Cores of Origin, Sublimation chests, really top end rewards that players absolutely want. And that meant that free-to-play players were getting twice as many Cores of Origin and twice as many Sublimation chests as they would normally expect from an event like this. So it was really good value to use your scrolls and invest in this. Now, what makes a Transcendence event special compared to last Anniversary is how you acquire the rewards. You can get them for using Heroic Summon Scrolls. You can get it for spending money. And more importantly, what's available for free-to-play players is you just get rewards for obtaining 5-star heroes. And you most likely have a ton of 5-star heroes saved up in your bag. And heck, Cause of Transcendence guarantee you a 5-star hero every time you open them. So it should be very easy to reach the 50 5-star heroes you need to get the top rewards. On top of that, if you had spare Contract Story gems or a few free awakens, you were able to get access to rewards just for awakening heroes, which was pretty cool. And if the devs are feeling really generous, they might even shove a gala-style event into the anniversary, which is most likely going to ask us to awaken copies of Alakita. So if you were hoping to get an artifact, you could totally go ahead and awaken Alakita copies. You'll only have to do about 10 awakens to get an additional artifact on top of what you already have. And it's likely that DH Games will probably rework that event a little bit to give some bonus rewards just because it's anniversary. So given the fact that the currency tied to Transcendence events is pretty easy to access, either through scrolls, getting 5-star heroes, or awakening heroes, you will find that you are getting additional rewards on top of what you'd normally expect from a Heroic Summons event. Expect much more sublimation and plenty more Cause of Origin than we had last year, and given the fact it's been a year since last anniversary, they're probably going to add even better rewards in here too, including the new Origin artifact chests. We'll probably also have a bunch of new festival treasures, which we can get from a series collection, so spenders can really buff up their treasure train. And on top of that, there's probably going to be a relay too, for those of you that wanted to spend, as well as the usual amazing deals you can expect from Anniversary. So when you really take a look at last year's Anniversary, you can see the only bad thing about the event was you weren't getting that much for using your scrolls. When it came to using gems to acquire those Zhongzi, and also when it comes to the incredible deals that were available to players, people were getting tons and tons of great rewards. It was only those that had saved 2,000 scrolls that felt a little hard done by, because they only really needed to use about 700 to get a Core of Origin, and then at that point, they just didn't make any more progress. But because this year we have a Transcendence event, it is much more likely that you'll be getting incredible rewards for using your scrolls, giving you access to Sublimation, Cause of Origin, the new Artifact Origin chests, and even Destiny materials will be available to free-to-play players. Add to that all the additional bonus rewards that Anniversary is going to give, access to festival skins, as well as hero swapping, and maybe even if we're lucky, Core of Origin swapping as well. Many people should get very excited for this year's Anniversary, because all the mistakes of last year was simply because it was not a Transcendence event. And because DH Games have fixed the Transcendence calendar and are turning Alakita into a Transcendence hero in 1 month's time, Anniversary is going to be really, really good. So fear not, save your scrolls, save your gems, and I promise you, in 1 month's time, it will pay off with one of the best events Idle Heroes has ever seen. And I'm not being paid by DH Games to tell you that. I genuinely believe that this is going to be an incredible event, because it needs to be an incredible event, because DH Games have lined it up perfectly. They've done everything right, and if they fail this, it's going to upset a lot of people. But if they do it right, a lot of people are going to be happy. So fingers crossed we get some great rewards. Folks, if you have any more questions about Anniversary or just Idle Heroes in general, drop them in our comment section or join our Discord, which you can find in the description below. I'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you're as excited for Anniversary as I am. Until then though, have an amazing time and happy idling.